listening to us. It's Radio Loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be, but I wasn't doing it for me. So how can I ask you to take me seriously if I'm living in somebody else's shoes?
And nobody can do what you do, and I think that that's a big problem that people face now. Like, you see what somebody else is doing and you want to do that when that's not your lane.
That's not your lane.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
But it's popular, it's getting that person money, it's getting that person applause. Oh, I want applause. I want money. Let me stand over here behind them. And
then a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves either. Like, I was thinking earlier today, I've been woke for almost 2 days, so so you get honesty, and I was thinking, like, you know,
the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You are now listening to Just a Bit Outside, the sports radio show at BeExposedRadio.com. Come join us every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on YouTube.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Coach White. I am your holistic personal trainer. This is a show where personal training is redefined and conflicts are resolved. So as I like to start, I like to first give a couple of quick announcements. So I have a couple of things that will be beneficial to you. Tuesday through Friday, I have a training slot from 6:30 to about 7:40 in the morning. If you want to meet me out in Planet Fitness, if you contact me via email, my email is darrell.crs@gmail.com. You send me an email and I will offer you free training for this week. My gift to you. Now, if you are a current member of Planet Fitness, then you have an advantage over someone who doesn't. So my guest who I have can come in. You can be either of those days, but I can only have one guest at a time. So that will be my contribution to you and your whole, when we talk about stewardship, we are responsible for the bodies that God gave us. So that would be my way of contributing to you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I still have the monthly training assessments going on for those that may not necessarily need a personal trainer, but you haven't been meeting your goals and you would probably benefit from having somebody come in, assess your training, add some things, take away some things from your workout to help you meet those goals in a shorter time frame. That's also coupled with the daily diet journal assessments, and these are assessments that I do based off of what you eat, give you some things to add and to take away to help you to meet your goals. So I just wanted to put that out there on the fitness side of the house. On the other side of the house, the conflict resolution side, I'm also offering one-to-one conflict resolution training. I'm offering group conflict resolution trainings on any of the topics that we discuss, or any topics that you may need assistance with as it pertains to conflict resolution. And that can be in the form of speaking engagements, or it can be in the form of some interactive group seminars. So wanted to put that out there. We also have the weekly journal assessments. If you really want to look at some conflicts you may be experiencing at work, you may be experiencing within your families, your relationships, or whatever, I'll charge you to journal those things, and you will share those things with me, and as a result I'll pick it apart, help you get to the root of it, look at what the Bible says about it, and be able to help you to map out a plan so that you can walk in victory as you should. So I wanted to put that out there. We also have, and this is my contribution to the community, because often we get into conversations and we say the youth and young adults are getting in trouble because they don't have anything to do. So every Sunday at 2 p.m., weather permitting, if the fields are wet, then we're not out there. And the fields vary, but we have football training. It is endurance training, it is skill specific. So again, that's my contribution to the community. If you have any youth that are in football, that like football, looking to get into it, all ages. It could be college, it could be high school, rec. Please, please, please take advantage of that. Again, my email address is darrellwhite.crs@gmail.com. Last announcement, based off of topics that we have on this show. The very first show that we had on the 21st, if you want to check that out, you can go to beexposedradio.com, or you can get it on YouTube. If you put in a conflict resolution show, Be Exposed Radio, we were talking about youth females and music. We were talking about how some music, we were looking specifically at Kanye West's song, I Love It. Looking at how that could potentially be impactful to youth females and can contribute to their low self-esteem or low self-worth. So we looked at that intrapersonal conflict as it pertains to that. So we have a spin-off Bible study. We were looking at what the Bible says about low self-esteem, low self-worth. So that's every Monday, and I'll try my best to remember to post that on the Conflict Resolution Show page, so you can have access to call in to the conference call every Monday at 9 p.m. So those are my announcements. If you missed last week, again, I beseech you, that's the word of the day, I beseech you to go to YouTube, check it out, the Conflict Resolution Show, Be Exposed Radio. We were discussing last week, and I want to kind of put that to bed before we transition into our topic. And I apologize for those of you who may be viewing that anticipated part 2. I anticipated part 2 myself, but I had another topic that was burning that we really have to get to, and we'll impact that later on. Excuse me, last week we discussed societal conflicts. Excuse me. And we talked specifically about health, lifestyle, and diet. We looked at the top 3 causes of death in Baltimore City in 2017, according to research that I was able to come up with. The leading causes, to my surprise, of death in 2017 were cancer, heart disease, and strokes. All 3 of those diseases are directly related to your diet. So I shared a really good parable. I won't share it, but if you check it out, I think it was very relative to our mindset and our communities. as it pertains to that. And I had Sister Tawanda Prelo come on to share an awesome story about her testimony. And she talked a lot about changing from the inside out and how we can be so big on changing our diet, but if we miss what's going on in the, more than likely we'll come back to gaining that weight again. So changing from the inside out is very important. So she hit on that. Then I had my brother Dominic Nelder come on, representing the urban farms in Baltimore City, and he talked about that good produce that he has for people who claim to only have access to the chicken boxes and the half and halves and things of that nature. Brother Dominic came on and shared information about what he's doing in his program to benefit those in the inner city, because that is his priority. And I'm so thankful for having those guests on. It's a dynamic show. I'm already preparing the next show. We'll probably have in a couple of weeks, but I'll try my best to post that so you know what show is going to be upcoming on the Conflict Resolution Show page. So stay tuned for that. As we transition into our topic today, I want to make you aware that the last show, or the first show, I'm sorry, on October 21st, when we were talking about interpersonal conflicts, youth, females, and music. At the end of that show, and Brother Marvin McKenstry was on as my guest, and Sister Danielle joined us as well to give her perspective from a female perspective as it pertains to music and music's influence and things of that nature. I was very alarmed. At the end of the show, we were leaving, we were getting on the elevator, and Brother Marvin's son, little Marvin, had gave him some news that one of his mentees was shot. So at that point, I think that, if I recall correctly, the young man who was shot was in the hospital, being rushed to the hospital. And unfortunately, he passed away. Remember talking to Brother Marvin that week. It's probably a Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that, maybe even a Monday. And he was, in tears. He was crying. His heart was heavy. He was venting, and I was listening to him talking about how he's really tired of losing youth and young adults to the streets. He said he's constantly going to funerals. He's constantly in grief. And it was very, very hard for me to hear him cry and sob on the phone. So I knew that at some point we had to get into this topic. So tonight's topic is about intraracial conflict. We're going to be talking about black on black crime. I'm sorry, not crime, black on black homicides in Baltimore City. What is the resolution for this issue? Many shows, many people have talked about this issue, have discussed this issue, and I really want to get into it. If you're doing some things in the community, I applaud you. I commend you to keep going. We had a ceasefire going on this weekend. Connected with a brother on Facebook who I met at a barbershop. Shout out to you, and I definitely want to have you guys on board at some point to talk about what you're doing in the community, which is really dynamic. Unfortunately, we lost, I think, a young female on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. It's tough, guys, and I'm really alarmed, and I'm at a point where I'm comfortable in saying the young black man is becoming extinct. The workforce, and I look around and I see all these powerful women in roles. I was talking to my brother not too long ago, in fact, a couple of days ago, and I was sharing with him, even in the building where I work, it's very it's a very small amount of men in that building. And shout out to the women. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And the queen of my heart is my mother, the best woman ever walked the face of the earth in my eyes. Her and my grandmother. So I give a big shout out to you guys, and I commend you for what you're doing. But the young black man is, we're wiping each other out, and it's really alarming. So I had to do a segment about this today. So I'm hoping that Brother Marvin McKenstry would come and join me once we come out of the break. And I told him that it's very easy for us to sit around and talk about what we should be doing, or what we could be doing, or what we would do in the shoes of our youth and young adults. So it was important for me to have somebody else on as well that can share their story, that comes up directly from that environment. So I asked Brother Marvin to bring on another Brother David. Hope, if you can hear me, I hope that you would join us as well, so that you can give your perspective on this issue. So again, welcome back to the Conflict Resolution Show. Please, please, please stay tuned. Like the page if you haven't. Please share this, and we'll be back shortly. Stay tuned.
I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council. Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story, adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a
Tearless
click away
baby
at
shampoo
the
because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet, fingerling, Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. Again, I'm your host, Coach White. Thank you for joining me. We're talking about a very, very serious topic, and we're hitting on, every show we talk about a conflict. So we're talking about intraracial conflict, black on black homicide, particularly in Baltimore City with our young men. And I want to begin this segment by reading to you an article from Kevin Rector of the Baltimore Sun. And it reads, of the 343 people killed in Baltimore in 2017, please listen to this, 88% were killed with a firearm, including 295 with a handgun and 6 with a shotgun or rifle, according to Baltimore police data released. About 86% of the victims and 85% of the 118 suspects identified by police had prior criminal records. About 46% of victims and 44% of suspects had previously been arrested for gun crimes, the data show. Of the guns used, the overwhelming majority of them are going to be illegally possessed, said T.J. Smith, a police spokesman. Smith said the numbers from the department's annual homicide analysis support what the department has been saying, that the weapon of choice for bad guys in Baltimore is the handgun, that repeat violent offenders are routinely behind the violence, and that often today's victim is yesterday's suspect, and today's suspect can be tomorrow's victim, end quote. The data are indicative of the problem that we know we have, which is people with guns using them on each other, he said. Robbery was indicated as the motive in at least 33 of the killings in 2017. But often last year, in reference to 2017, homicides occurred as a direct result of the violent drug trade and the easy accessibility of firearms. They involve rival drug crews and gang members in turf disputes or acting in retaliation for past acts of violence, police data suggests. The average homicide victim in Baltimore in 2017 had 11 previous arrests on his record. Notice it says his record. About 73% had drug arrests and nearly 50% had been arrested for a violent crime. About 30% were on parole or probation at the time they were killed. More than 6% were on parole or probation for a gun crime. 20% of the victims were known members of a gang or drug crew, according to the data. The average homicide suspect, meanwhile, had 9 previous arrests on his record. About 70% had drug arrests, and nearly half had been arrested for a violent crime. Nearly 36%, and this is staggering, 36% were on parole or probation, and 6% were on parole or probation for a gun crime, the data show. 18% of the suspects were known members of a gang or drug crew, according to the data. Police did not know the motive behind nearly half of the killings, but at least 20 were related to retaliation, according to the data. Many of the data trends identified in 2017 mirror those seen in 2016. More than 90% of homicide victims were black, more than 90% were male, and nearly 65% were between the ages of 18 and 34. More than 86% were killed outdoors, 13 were children. About 45% of the victims, which is 155 people, were shot in the head. Again, this is research from the Baltimore Sun. And tonight we're talking about intraracial conflicts, black on black homicides, and we're talking about young males. So my question to you as the viewer is, why? Why are we at a place where gun violence is the means to resolve a conflict? Or should I say, we are deceived into believing it as the way to resolve a conflict? Because the truth of the matter is, and we're going to go to a break shortly, the drugs are still going to be there when you're gone. The money's still going to be there when you're gone. The gang's still going to be there when you're gone, but you're going to be gone. So we'll pick up where we left off when we get back. Please stay tuned. Like the page, share the message. I love it. I would love your feedback. We'll be right back.
There's a rumor going around that Tyler Perry and Oprah are beefing. Well, let me tell you about this. Tyler, okay, told Oprah, bitch, if you don't have my money, we're going to have a problem. Ooh. Oprah said, what is the problem? Ooh. You said if I don't have your money, there was going to be a problem. So Oprah is standing her ground like, bitch, I'm in charge. Yeah, you know, you may have a $250 million studio over there that you film all your shows and movies and stuff on, but I have the empire. That's what Oprah said.
Oh, these are her exact words. Allegedly.
I made this up. But
allegedly.
I made it all up. But there was a rumor that they were beefing. But Tyler confirms that they don't have any issues. So it says it was recently reported on the rumors that was swirling that the twosome were on the outs. over constructive criticism over Perry's show. Well, I got some constructive criticism, and we can be on the outs, Tyler, and I don't give a damn because I'm going to make a promo out of this anyway and share it to your page. I need the scenes on Have and Have-Nots to be like 5% shorter, each one. I want you to watch an episode of The Young and the Restless, because this is supposed to be a soap opera. No one's dialogue on The Young and the Restless is like this. You don't have to talk about the random plant in the corner for 25 minutes on one damn scene.
They talk about random plants. It
was a blood stain on the floor for 5 episodes. I can't take it. We need to pick this up. I'm sorry. I love the Have and the Have-Nots, and I continue to watch it in its 5th season, but I get so mad when I can go get myself a glass of water and come back, and he had just started the next sentence in his first paragraph. I can't stand it.
They just want to get the point across.
It's not but you don't get the point for 4 episodes. It's too much. So, now according to ET Online reports, Tyler Perry has a pre-cut and dried response to a pretty cut and dry response to the rumors about him and Oprah. Here's what he says. It's completely false.
What was that? That was your Tyler Perry impression? Oh, God. What?
That was my Medea voice.
Oh,
gotcha. Nothing is accurate in this article except for mine and Oprah's names. That's what he said. I mean, you see what I mean? You gotta stick around. I mean, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. I mean, they pay us to do this, so we go off every week right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. Again, this is the Conflict Resolution Show. Please join us in the conversation today. Add a comment to the Facebook page on the Conflict Resolution Show page, and I'll be sure to give you some feedback during the break. So we're talking about something that is near and dear to my heart tonight. Intraracial conflict, black on black homicides, and youth men, or youth and young adult males. So I shared some statistics previously that I got from the Baltimore Sun on an article that was written, I think it was based on 2017 to 2016 statistics, and it was very alarming. 90%, I think I remember reading, 90% of the homicides in Baltimore City were a result of young black men killing each other. And this is where I go on my rant. The first responsibility, and again, shout out to all the community organizations for doing your thing. I know Brother Marvin, I hope he could join us before the segment ends tonight, and Brother David as well. Shout out to those that are on the front line that's doing a lot of work in the communities. But my whole way of thinking about this, to be most tactful, is to really start off at home. So the question is, what are we doing as parents? What are we teaching in our homes to our children? What are we exposing them to? What are we watching? What are we reading? What are we listening to? We often talk about, and I'll talk about this more when we get into our next segment, future show, when we break down lyrics to another song and talk about interpersonal conflicts. There's a expression, as we've heard it, soul food. and we talk about physical things that we eat as it pertains to soul food. But the truth of the matter is, the real soul food is what we watch, what we listen to, what we read. So who and what we listen to, who and what we watch, and what we read are ways that we feed our soul. So I'm getting back to the home front. It's very easy to try to tackle issues in our community, but we have a community within a community. And when I say that, what I mean is your first community. And I hope you guys at your dinner tables, I hope that you have invited me to your dinner table so that we can begin to have these conversations at the dinner table. The community within your community is your home. So what are we allowing our babies to watch? Who are we allowing them to watch? What and who are we allowing them to listen to? And what are we allowing them to read? That we have breeded a culture with so much hate and resentment toward one another, that we have the influx of black on black homicides that we have here in Baltimore City. So if you are a parent like I am a parent, I encourage you to step up. It's never too late. If you are a parent, and if I'm speaking to your heart right now, and we know that nobody is perfect, so we don't have to beat that drum. But my hope is that the pattern of your life would reflect that of righteousness, and that your kids will be impacted. We know that when they get a certain age, things are totally up to them, and they're going to do what they want to do. However, if their foundation is rooted in the truth, then they'll come back to it. And that's written. So this is a part of my rant. So if you could give me some feedback, again, put your feedback in the comment section, the Conflict Resolution Show on Facebook. I would love to get your feedback on this topic. Because we are, and I'm talking about the community within the community, our households, we are responsible for our children. And I have been privileged to be a mentor for over 20 years to a lot of youth and young adults. A lot of you guys have invited me into your home, and I've lost a lot of you guys as well. Rest in peace. But there's the old expression that you've heard: you can take somebody to the water, but you can't make them drink it. So our role as mentors is vital. But what's even more vital, and I said this before in previous shows, parents, you are the first personal trainers for your children. We are redefining personal training. Personal training is not just about working out. It's about training the whole person. And nothing will preach louder and more effectively than a person who preaches with their mouth closed. So I'm talking about behavior. I'm talking about kids in households who are watching, who are listening to, or who are feeding their souls. Let me connect the dots. With the behavior they see in mom and dad, uncle and auntie, grandma, grandpa, they are feeding off of that energy, that spirit, that behavior, and it is taking root into their character, and their behaviors will reflect what they saw. So what are you allowing your children to see? What are you allowing your children to be exposed to, that we will be at this point in our communities where we have such an alarming rate of black on black homicide amongst our young men? So please give me your feedback. Put your comment in the Conflict Resolution Show Facebook page. And when we get to the break, we could definitely interact. But here's the second part of my rant. We are, and I say we, I'm taking the attention off of the immediate household and putting the attention on the church community. What are we teaching our congregants? What are we teaching specifically our youth and young adults, males in Baltimore City? What are they learning in our churches? Are they learning in our churches? Or are we doing superficial, topical messages that itch their ears and that entertains them? Do we have crowds or do we have congregations? Are we entertainers or are we preachers? If you are a preacher, a minister, a man of God, and you're listening to this message and it speaks to you, I want you to really look in the mirror and ask yourself, what message is going across the mic on that pulpit on Sundays? What messages are being taught on Wednesday Bible studies? Are we even captivating the young males? Or are we trying to reel them in by means apart from the truth? Because we are holistic, it's not foreign for me to go right to the book. So Romans chapter 12 spells a lot of it out for me. Romans chapter 12 verses 17 through 21. And again, Brother Marvin, if you could join us, Brother David, again, I would love for you guys to join us. But this is part of my rant. Romans chapter 12, beginning with verse 17, says, repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. Repay no one evil for evil. Is that something that we're modeling in our homes? Is that something that we're modeling in our churches? Verse 19 says, beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. So let me tell you about that. If we are taking it upon ourselves as a community, and we are killing people, then our issue is first with God, because we don't trust him that he's going to be the avenger. So that's something that we need to be teaching on Wednesday. It's something we need to be teaching Sunday morning. And I wish that we can get out of tradition for a minute and really start using the word to speak to the hearts of our young men. Verse 21, Romans chapter 12, verse 21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. The way we overcome evil is with good. So let me ask you something, parents. Are we kids two years young? But from what I can recall coming up in my household, it was, look, if somebody hits you, then, you go ahead and tell the teacher, because it's the teacher's responsibility to keep you safe when I'm not around. But if the teacher doesn't do something, then you need to defend yourself. And that's cool. Self-defense is one thing. But another thing is when we show division as a parent between us and the teachers. Because we're real big on, and I've worked in the school system and I've seen it. We're real big on coming to the schools to intervene when something happens to your child. And that's cool. But in parent-teacher conferences, when kids are failing, we don't see nobody. You can't bear schools. And we're talking about young men right now. We're talking about the fact that education is not separate from this issue. We are losing our young men They are walking away from the school systems, and they're being invited by the same streets they're going to be welcomed by. The same streets are still going to be there when they're gone. So we can't ignore that. Educational piece is a part of it. But so what are we teaching in our households? And let me talk to the men for a minute. If your son or sons are not getting the word, are you modeling the word for them? And let me speak to people who proclaim to be in the word first. If you're not somebody that proclaims to be in the word, then this message may not directly be for you. But what are we teaching our young brothers? That we are losing them to a lie in which they believe to be true, which is, I can take this brother out right here and the conflict is over. No, the conflict is still there, because it's just like I read to you, according to the data, a lot of these homicides that are happening are all retaliation. It's a circle of violence, a vicious cycle. So men, what are we doing to help our young brothers to break this cycle? Please give me your feedback on the Conflict Resolution Show Facebook page. Please type in a comment and examine yourself. Look in the mirror, and I want you to tell me, what are you doing in your household to make sure that your young men are not going to walk in this path of violence? How are you showing them as their personal trainer? How are you showing them to address these issues pertaining to a lack of effective conflict resolution? So I'm in the book. 1 John chapter 3 verse 15 says, everyone who hates his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer. So do we hate each other? I'm starting to believe that we hate each other. I mean, it's no other way of looking at it for me. And are we teaching these messages in the church? You know, and I've been in circles where I'm talking to pastors and they talking about, you know, we got to meet people where they are. And that's cool. We should. We have an issue here in Baltimore City. And we have a harvest here. And we're going to get back into this when we get back. Please stay tuned. And again, if you had not liked the page, please like the page. And please, please, please give me your comments. I would love your feedback. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing!
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Check out this flashback.
Right. To know that I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Drug use.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So again, derived from the lyrics. Talk to me about the interpersonal conflict.
So let me say this, and I think that what I'm gonna do is probably challenge a lot of what we're dealing with topically.
Yeah.
Because to me, whether we talking about material things, drug use, or anything else, it's where we teach our young people to place value.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're not going to take the person that has been given the value system, and I know we're talking about young women, but I look at my son, I look at little Marvin, and one of the things, of all of the things that Marvin has decided that he would go venture into, one of the things that he's just completely stayed away from is drugs. Has no desire towards it, but I've never modeled anything about that being something. And when you look again, as we keep talking about the cultural aspects of things, we're talking about a culture and systems that creates a sense of attraction or makes this stuff attractive, you know, in its advertising and promotion, whether it's the material things, whether it's the drug use. But I believe that if you've put a firm value system in, and taught people taught your young people, your young ladies, what has value, and what literally doesn't have value, then, you know, even, I guess, kind of throwing them into the lion's den, whether it be sending them to Baltimore public schools, because everybody in Baltimore public schools ain't coming from your household, whether it be being out in the community or going to their cousin's house who live in the rougher neighborhood. You know, there can be the presence of that peer pressure, but we got to make sure that we balancing it out. So lyrics that are suggestive towards drug use is ridiculous right now.
Join us every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Conflict Resolution with Darrell White, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
So I'm your host, Coach White. We are talking about interracial conflicts, and this is going to be part 1. We will get into this again with the alarming rate of black on black male homicides in Baltimore City. We definitely will get back into this topic. I would love your feedback. Please give me any questions, comments, concerns that you have. Send it to the Conflict Resolution Show page. I kind of went on a rant, and I went on a rant because, again, and you'll hear me repeat this, I have a lot of respect for those boots on the ground organizations that are in the trying to make a change. But the first priority is to make sure that our homes by which we are teaching and modeling effective conflict resolution skills. And if we're not doing that, then what are we doing? So I'm challenging every parent that's listening tonight. I hope you're at your dinner table with your children to look in the mirror. And in fact, I said the word of the day was beseech. I beseech you to ask your kids what are you modeling, because there's nobody in the world that would be brutally honest with you than your kids. And ask your kids, am I teaching you hypocritically? Am I of the fabric or the frame of thinking that says, do what I say, but not as I do? Because that is dead and over. We should no longer be preaching that sermon in our houses. We should be modeling the expectations we want to see in our children. So I am challenging you parents who are listening tonight to look in the mirror and examine yourself and ask, what are you teaching your young men as it pertains to dealing with conflicts? What are you modeling for them? What have they seen? What have they been exposed to? Ask yourself that question. If you are a person that's in the church and proclaim the word of God, what are you teaching on Sundays from the pulpit? What is being taught in your Sunday school curriculum? What is being taught on Wednesday Bible studies? Are you reaching the hearts of the youth, the young adult males? So we were in the book before we left, before we went to break. And if you're not learning it on Sundays, again, holistic personal training is about the whole person, mind, body, and soul. I'm privileged to have a psychology education, privileged to know physical fitness, and privileged to know a lot about the Word of God. So we were in the book, and we were looking at 1 John as we wait on our guests. And if they come, I will be excited, but if they don't, I'm even more excited to be sharing information with you and happy to have another Sunday with you. 1 John chapter 3, verse 15. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer, period. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. So I'm convinced that we hate each other. Hate is the same thing associated with Cain when he killed Abel. He hated his brother. And you can't convince me otherwise. The homicide rate is too high. And if we're saying that we love, then we're probably deceiving ourselves into thinking that love is something different than what it really is. So again, it goes back to the home. What are we teaching our kids about love? Very important. So I wanted to put that out there. I shared Romans 12, 17 through 21, and I shared 1 John 3, 15. And we're talking about what impact the church has, if at all. What impact do you have at home? And if you are a young adult and you are humble enough to say to yourself, look, I have young children and I really don't know how to raise them up. I know, but I do know that I wasn't taught how to do that effectively. Then I'm encouraging you to send me an email. Let's connect. Because if I can pour into you, then that's what I want to do. It's DarrellWhite.CRS, conflictresolutionservices@gmail.com. DarrellWhite.CRS@gmail.com. This is really important. So we're going to go to a break in a minute, but I want to introduce what we're going to discuss in the next hour. And the that don't join us, we're going to look at the psychology behind this. I'm going to pose a scenario to you as the viewing audience, and I'm going to ask you some questions about youth at different stages of their lives, and I'm going to paint a certain picture, and I want you to tell me, how can we win in this scenario? So we'll look at some scenarios. We're getting ready to go to the break, but again, if you haven't liked the page or shared the video, please share it. I would love your feedback. Please stay tuned. We're going to break this thing down even further when we get back. Thank you.
Join the club that gives you stuff.
Hey, thanks!
Radio Loyalty.
Here's how it works.
Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right?
Radio Loyalty.
Click that banner to join now.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live United. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that if we're not here to help each other, then what are we here for really? My name is Ruth Rusi. I help kids prepare to succeed in school. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
My name is Meera Batra. I have been in this country 32 years, and this is how I live united.
America has always been the land of promise, and in my community, many families have come for a better life. Coming from another culture myself, I know the desire to become part of a community, to feel at home, and to gain the tools for our children and families to succeed. So I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to look beyond their histories and to see what opportunities are available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools, network within the community, and when we do, we unite them. We make the community stronger. What I do is something I wish someone had done for me, and I am so grateful I am able to. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunities and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common?
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. Again, this is Coach White, the Conflict Resolution Show. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about intraracial conflict, and this is the final hour of the show. I think Brother Marvin is going to be joining us after the next break. I look forward to him joining us and giving feedback, and we may or may not have another brother on to give his perspective. But I want to look at the psychology behind interracial conflicts, black on black homicides in Baltimore City. So being a holistic personal trainer, again, it's about training the whole person. I'm in the business of training the whole person, and my business is my ministry. So during the first hour, I was able to give some scriptures to hold on to, because I'm not sure, and there's no knock on the churches that are teaching and reaching the young males in Baltimore City. Shout out to you, you're doing an excellent job. But if you look in the mirror, pastor or minister, or even mom or dad, you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, at some point, I did not do a good job at teaching my kids conflict resolution techniques, then I applaud you for your humility. If you are humble enough to ask your congregants, particularly the young men or your sons, hey, where do you think I messed up? What could I have done better? If you're humble enough to do that, I applaud you. But if you are one that, you think that you did an excellent job, then be at peace with that. Because I know statistically, this village is not doing well with reaching this, our youth and young adult males. We're not doing well. We're losing them. We're not gaining them. So again, I extended my email address is darrellwhite.crs for conflict resolution services @gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I would love to help you. I'm more than willing to help you if that's something that you deem that you need help with. I think everybody needs a mentor, and I'm extending myself to you. So I gave you some scriptures to hold on to. Romans chapter 12 and 1 John chapter 3. Let's talk about the psychology of this. So what I did as I was preparing for today's segment, I looked at a couple different scenarios, and I want you to walk with me for a minute. And I'm going to paint a couple pictures. The first picture that I'm going to paint for you is the picture of, well, let me start it this way. There's a father involved in the drug game and gang affiliated, and there's a mother who is attracted to his lifestyle. So listen to the dynamics we have going on. We have a father in the scenario who is involved in a drug game and gang affiliated. The mother or the mother of his child is attracted to his lifestyle. Stay with me. Both parents frequently smoke marijuana and drink alcohol. So that's frequent. They are expecting to have a son. The question that I have for you as the viewer is, how can the young pregnant family break this cycle of violence amongst male to males? How can the young pregnant family break this cycle of violence? So please, if you're joining me live, please put in what you think could be done to break the cycle of violence in the comments section on the conflict resolution page. So here we have the father, who is the leader of the family, directly or indirectly, who's in a drug game, who's gang affiliated. The mother's attracted to that lifestyle. So there's a couple of different family dynamics that we can look at. What we can look at is, why is the mother so attracted to this lifestyle? We could pick that apart. Or we can pick apart the fact that the father, why is he affiliated with a gang? What kind of void is in his life? What is he lacking that the gang affiliation is fulfilling? What is he missing that the brotherhood within his gangs have fulfilled? Or we can look at it this way, from a psychology standpoint or psychological standpoint. Why the drug game for him? So we can look at those two dynamics and we can pick those apart. Or we can look at drug use, alcohol use. And these are common things in our community. This is just a scenario that I painted. So the question that I have for you as the viewer, how can this young family win? How can they break this cycle of violence? What does the father have to do? What does the mother have to do differently? Does she move on to find another man? Well, clearly in this scenario, she's attracted to that lifestyle. So it's probably unlikely that that will happen. Could the young brother, could he just say, you know what, I'm getting ready to have a child now. I'm done with the gang. I'm done with gang affiliation. Could that happen? And if that did happen, would he be able to keep the woman who is, or the mother who is attracted to that lifestyle? That's another thing we can look at. So take this scenario. Pick that apart. I would love to get your feedback. How can the young pregnant family break this cycle of violence? Scenario number 2. Same situation with mom and dad. The young family now has a 2-year-old boy who is frequently exposed to gun violence and music. Same family dynamic. Same exposure to drugs, same exposure to alcohol exists, same gang affiliation, drug affiliation, same with the dad, same attraction with the mother. And again, we're looking at the psychology behind this, the family dynamics. If now the young boy is 2 years old and he's now being exposed to gun violence and music, how can this family win? And winning looks like this young man not being caught up, this 2-year-old in the future, not being caught up in black on black homicides. How can we win? So now, let me give another scenario. Here's a 5-year-old. Same family dynamic. A young family with a 5-year-old boy who is frequently exposed to gun violence and television. Same scenario. The young boy is 5 years old. He's frequently exposed to gun violence and television. Tell me in the comments section, how can we win in this scenario? How can we impact if you are in this scenario, let's make it personal. If you are in this scenario, how can you be impactful as a father? How can you be impactful as a mother so that the cycle of violence does not continue? So I gave you one with the 2-year-old, gave you one with the 5-year-old. Now here's the 9-year-old. And notice the gaps in ages. So this young family has a 9-year-old boy who has been exposed to gun violence in his community. The question that I'm posing to you is, how can we win? How can we win if dad is involved in gangs? How can we win if dad is involved in a drug gang? How can we win if mom is attracted to that lifestyle? How can we win if both of them are involved with drugs and alcohol? And now we have this 9-year-old who's exposed to gun violence in the community. How can we win? Please, in the comments section, give me your thoughts. And I want you to put yourself in this scenario. I'm anxious. And I hope that before we close, that our guest, Brother David, could join us to give his feedback. Because it's so crucial to this dynamic. Because these are the parameters. These are the communities within the communities that we're talking about tonight. These are real life scenarios that are taking place. The question is, how can we win? So let's take the 12-year-old. Again, same family dynamic. Young family with the 12-year-old boy who is in a gang. So now we have this young man who's 12, middle school age kid. He's in a gang now. But dad is also in a gang, so he probably followed dad's footsteps. We have no indication that he's selling drugs. We have no indication that he's drinking alcohol or he's smoking marijuana. But he's involved in a gang now. How can we win in this scenario as a community? What would you do differently? Please, please give me a comment. So I had 2 more. Same family dynamic. Now we have a 14-year-old boy who actually sells drugs. So we have no indication that he's involved in a gang. We have no indication that he uses drugs. But we know that dad sold drugs. And we know that there's a possibility in this dynamic that the trend is for him to follow after his dad. Now I will say, and I'll share a personal story. Coming up, I didn't have a direct relationship with my biological dad. But let me tell you something. There's something innate. There's something in us. And it could be genetics. We won't unpack the biological component tonight. But it was always something in me, although I heard the stories about my dad, that I wanted to be like him. And I didn't even have the relationship necessarily when I was younger. I didn't connect with my dad until I was 21. And he was at Jessup at the time. I wrote him a letter. I had, prior to that, given my life to Christ. So I was able to forgive him because I was forgiven. So far be it from me to raise my standards above a holy God. So I was able to forgive him. I wrote him a note at Jessup telling him that I've forgiven him. I want to move on and I want to connect with him and build with him. And ever since I was 21, we've been building. And we have a really good relationship. Thanks be to God for that. But in this scenario, this 14-year-old is now selling drugs. Dad sold drugs. So how can we win in this scenario? Please type in your comments. I'm really looking forward to getting your feedback. The last one, in this family dynamic, again, we're looking at the psychology behind this. A young family with a 17-year-old boy who just hangs with the drug dealers and gang members. So he's not directly involved, but he just hangs around with them. How can we win in this scenario? That's what we're talking about tonight. So that our 17-year-old baby does not become a victim of gun violence in Baltimore City. So you have the 2-year-old who is frequently exposed to gun violence and music. You have the 5-year-old who is frequently exposed to gun violence and television. You have the 9-year-old who has been exposed to gun violence in his community. You have the 12-year-old who is in a gang. You have the 14-year-old who sells drugs. And you have the 17-year-old who just hangs with the drug dealers and gang members. So how can we win in these scenarios, people? Please give me some feedback. We're about to go to a break really soon, actually in about 15 seconds or so. Please stay tuned. I look forward to corresponding with you in the comments section. If you haven't liked the show, Conflict Resolution Show, please do so. If you haven't shared it, please share the page, and we'll be right back.
Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out.
Exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be, but I wasn't doing it for me. So how can I ask you to take me seriously if I'm living in somebody else's shoes?
And nobody can do what you do, and I think that that's a big problem that people face now. Like, you see what somebody else is doing and you want to do that when that's not your lane.
That's not your lane.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
But it's popular, it's getting that person money, it's getting that person applause. Oh, I want applause. I want money. Let me stand over here behind them.
And then a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves either. Like, I was thinking earlier today, I've been woke for almost 2 days, so so you get honesty, and I was thinking, like,
the Artist Exchange Radio.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
My name is Ruth Rusey. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live united. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that if we're not here to help each other, then what are we here for really? My name is Ruth Rusey. I help kids prepare to succeed in school. So I don't just wear the shirt.
Just a bit outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right.
They were going into that National Series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're.
Then your average game you're losing
by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, a number like negative 65, this early into the season is pretty rough.
That's horrible.
The pitching numbers pretty much support this stat right here. I mean, the team ERA is 4.70, which is 26th in the league. They have 126 walks allowed. They acquired Jared Weaver in the offseason, and he really has not panned out. He's off to one of the worst starts in any of the pitchers in 2017. He's 0-4 with a 6.05 ERA. In May alone, he already has 12 earned runs in May. And, another one of their pitchers, Clayton Richard, he's 2-4 with a 4.34 ERA. And, in May, he has 6 earned runs and 12 innings pitched. So they're not pitching well. And on top of that, they are also not batting well.
Right. But it kind of sucks because Manuel Margot is doing pretty good. His the past few at bats, his last.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that. Cool! That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. Got my brother with me now.
Hey, everybody.
Brother Marvin, glad you joined us, man.
I'm glad to be here as always.
And I told the good people, man, it grieved me to hear your grief. And I shared with them the first show that we had on the 21st. As we were leaving, you had gotten the news about your mentee. And later that week when we checked in again, you had brought to my attention that he passed. So that was a lot of the motivation behind the topic of today. So again, we talking about interracial conflicts, specifically black on black homicides, our young men in Baltimore City. So I shared a lot in the show, shared a report from the Baltimore Sun. I won't necessarily get back into that. I've been rambling for the last hour and 15 minutes, so I'm sure they want to hear from you at this point. So when the first objective tonight was really, and again, it's going to be another part to this, was to identify some of the root causes for interracial homicides among young men in Baltimore City. So with that being the objective, what comes to mind for you in terms of some of the root causes?
The interesting thing for me, my viewpoint at this point is one that's very intimate, it's very close.
Yeah.
You know, I hear people often say it's senseless murder, senseless crime. The reality of it is it's a culture at work in Baltimore that has many varying dynamics to it that perpetuates this the cycle of these homicides that we seeing now. I think the root causes go way back.
Okay.
To the systematic demise and destruction of the black community, the black family, the black household, the attack on the black male, all of those varying things that go way back to the early 70s.
Okay.
Through the 90s and the opioid crisis that all the way up to the opioid crisis that we see at work now, and being a product of the street, you know, the desensitization towards homicide in young men. I know personally, I was on a basketball court, well, not a basketball court, actually a playground in between Lexington Street building and Fayette Street building, where I grew up in Lexington Terrace Projects. And we were playing a game we called taps on the monkey balls. It was a modified game of basketball where we used the monkey balls as the goal. And that day while we were out there, a person that I knew very well, a young man by the name of David, was killed and left murdered right there in front of all of us. At the time, I couldn't have been no more than 11 years old.
Wow.
So somewhere between 9 and 12 years old, I witnessed my first murder. And even back then, you know, there was not a great veil over the reality that there were some people who you never saw, who you saw one day and didn't see again, and that they met their demise. You know, some community champions, my guy Lucky, you know, Brian Bailey, these guys we looked up to in the way of sports, and they were also guys that helped us. They really financed our youth sports programs. Then I had a friend named Corey, who at a very young age had gotten involved in the drug trade. And the way the story goes, his mom had a heroin addiction. He had heroin to sell. His mom took all of his stuff and his money, and it cost him his life. The last time we talked, he told me, bro, you might not see me again. I never saw him again, alive.
Wow.
So all of this is by my early, very early teens.
Yeah.
So to become so inundated with murder as a reality, and it's nothing like what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, I may have lost 5 friends that I consider friends over a lifetime to homicide, if 5.
Wow.
I watched my son lose 5 in a year.
Wow. We're going to jump right back where you left off as soon as we get back. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
You are tuned in to BeExposedRadio.com.
So we were talking about critical thinking. So we definitely believe that critical thinking is one of the first things we need to start implementing, not just simply being told things. Or how about this? You know, we tend to listen to people who get assigned certain positions.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So when they have certain positions, we tend to think that it's truth attached to that because of their position, right?
Right.
Is that always the case, though?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's probably one of the biggest reasons we should be doing some critical thinking.
Yes, I agree. I definitely.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Check out this flashback from the Artist Exchange radio show.
That's the biggest thing, is just empowerment. Just get off of the begging line. Just be proud and just get our pride and our dignity back, because as a child, we're taught how to go and beg for a job. Our parents, they literally taught us how to make sure you pull your pants up. Me, I'm 6'7", so I'm a bigger man. I was always taught how to not be threatening or intimidate people when I go into different interviews.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, good people. I'm here with my brother, Minister Marvin McKenstry. We're going to get right back into this. So we were talking about, the main objective for tonight is to look into some of the root causes for black-on-black homicides in Baltimore City. And you were sharing a lot of things that are very relevant. The culture, drugs in the early 70s. You talked about being a witness to murder yourself, ages 9 to 11. So pick up where you left off, if you don't mind.
So I tell people oftentimes that, the reality of homicide in Baltimore has always been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Like, I can't remember at a time when homicide did not impact some part or portion of my life, or murder. And I was saying that, I had a good friend, and one day he was there, the next day he wasn't. And as the story went, we was very young. He had gotten into the drug trade, and because his own mother had taken his stuff, he wound up getting murdered by the person who he couldn't pay the bill to. And I said, you fast forward to today's, well, actually there was another occurrence where a neighbor of mine, lady who lived across the street, she was actually like family. She had a friend that went to prison, and during the time that the friend was in prison, she got a new friend. When the friend that was in prison came home, he wanted to come back and I guess kind of reestablish himself in that space, and the new friend wasn't having it. So he shot him right there in Amity Street where I lived at. I didn't witness that shooting, but to be as young as I was at the time, probably younger than the one that I actually witnessed, the white chalk line that was left in the street by whoever, the police or the homicide people, and the blotches of blood that water and soap wouldn't get up, are still lasting images, man. I can still picture this stuff and see this stuff to this day. And a lot of my old neighborhood is gone. The whole high-rise portion of Lexington Terrace is gone. That side of Amity Street where that lady actually lived is gone and giving way to some new development. So over the course of my life, I probably can name 5 people that I considered friends that I lost to homicide. And it's troubling to know that my son, and this is a literal number, my son has lost 5 in 1 year. Just over the course of the last 2 years, I've lost 15 young people who I've had my hands on directly as mentees. 13 of those were gun violence victims, and 2 of them were fentanyl overdoses. Young people who I love, had very intimate relationships with, was trying my best to do what I could do to make a difference in their life. And the reality of our culture and the reality of murder in our culture took them from me. One who was like a daughter to me, and literally sent me into therapy. I grieved so hard for this young lady. Her name's Shantana Williams. Most people call her Buddha. I literally typed up a resignation letter, because most of these people, most of those young people I had met or encountered through the work that I do. I typed up a resignation letter. I don't want to work there anymore. You know, I felt like I couldn't take the loss that was being brought to me, but I can't escape it, because it's also a big part of my ministry. A lot of what I do and young people that I encounter through the work that I do in the community and that I do through my church and ministry. So it's really like my life and the call on my life has given me such a close proximity to this thing that we call murder, that it makes me irate when I hear people in politics try to relegate those that have been affected by this by numbers. It makes me irate to hear people who speak out about this and about people who've been impacted by this in a way of percentages, you know, and I hear people running around and talking about what improvements have been made in this year. You know, the family that lost their loved one this year doesn't care that it's 28 less than last year.
Right.
And if we truly honest with each other, we had an extremely cold winter. We had a stretch of 11 days where 12 days where nobody came outside.
Yeah.
We had a lot of rain this year, you know, so if anything, God helped us by giving us some cold and some rain and taking people off the street.
Yeah.
Nobody can really tell me anything that they did strategically. And I respect everybody with their individual movements. But when it becomes in your best interest to begin to talk about improvements in homicides when we're still going to probably hit 300 this year, you've just become a part of the problem.
Yeah.
One is too many, way too many. We were here the first night doing the pilot, and we were it was the second week, and we were talking about the impact of music on the community. And a young man, a rapper from Baltimore by the name of Nick Breed, had come into my mentor program as a guest speaker and decided that he wanted to stick around, take an interest in the young people, which of course positioned me to take an interest in him.
Yeah.
And the irony is, as we spoke about that topic, at that very time that we were in here in the studio speaking about that topic, and him being a musician and someone that had made strides to change his life, and that I had opportunity to work with to assist him with that, and made up his mind that he wanted to impact other people. Somebody shot him and took his life in the neighborhood where he grew up, where he was most well known, his hood, so to speak. So the culture of murder we have a direct hate relationship. I hate murder, and I'm certain murder hates me, because for the 15 or so that I've lost over the last 2 years, I'm sure there's so many more that I've impacted and been able to keep out of the way, you know. And I've said at times that, you know, I wish murder would manifest itself in a form of a person or something, so we can just go in and just fight this thing out, because it hurts.
Yeah.
You know, to look at my own life and to know that down through my history, my personal history, my personal story, I can just roll off how murder has been around. I can still recall names of friends and people who have meant a lot to me. I lost my little brother Sean 2 years ago. God blessed me and put me in a situation where I had his daughter in my custody for about 8 months, my Leah. But every day was a reminder that Sean was gone. Every time I woke up for school, every time I looked at her, it was a reminder that Sean was gone.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So when I think about so many people who try to capitalize off of it, whether it be politicians, whether it be people who are in the quote-unquote social activism community, just anybody, just people who speak out and speak on it and have no real idea of how this thing impacts every individual family, every individual life. I was at my brother's studio last night, and I was in there with 2 young men that I call my nephews, Daquan and Davion. Daquan and Davion's father, Larry, we called him Stink, was one of my best friends. He was murdered when they were just little boys, you know. And to look at Daquan, you're looking at his father. I mean, this boy looks so much like his father, except his father was really dark and he's light. I just kept finding myself looking at him and watching his mannerisms, you know. But them 2 guys had to, all they have to grow up on is stories about a dad who was a good man. He wasn't a street guy like that, not in the sense of you would ever think violence would take him out. And his homicide was closed with the murderer being considered another friend of ours that was murdered. So this culture has had a very direct impact on my life. When I look at the work that I do and the approach that I take towards it, every one of those stories and then some more that I can roll off is directly connected to what drives me, what gives me my passion towards it. And when we talk about root causes, at this point, I think what we have to look at is the reality that is such a part of our culture that in the neighborhoods where my church is, where I grew up, where I still live, where I still serve, it's a part of the reality that has become a new norm. That's the scary thing.
So let me ask you this. Before you came on, I painted a picture. There's a father involved in the drug game, right? And gang affiliated. And there's a mother who was attracted to his lifestyle. Both parents frequently smoke marijuana and drink alcohol. They are expecting to have a son. The question is, how can the young pregnant family break this cycle of violence?
So let me tell you what difficulties exist, right? Because I've seen in so many instances where that, and I'm always considered an apologist, you know, for people who are in the culture. But I've seen in so many instances where that young man made some young men decisions right around 18 years old. And he wound up going to jail, and misrepresentation legally didn't let him know exactly what his rights could have been, and he accepted a deal because the deal they offered him said you can go home. So now he has a tag on him called a felon. He really can't make a living wage because people who will work with felons and give them opportunities are going to lowball them because I know you desperate, I know you need. So it's a bunch of things in my experience that I can attach to that young man that are not exactly choice when it comes down to being in it. Then the young lady, you say she's attracted to his lifestyle. What else has she been taught to be attracted to? When you in a community that prosperity looks like the guy who has a car and who has some money, where the dude who's supposed to be the quote unquote good dude can't afford to dress like that guy. Nobody around you, because your mom ain't but 16 years older than you, and she had her struggles and her issues with it. Never really. I mean, there's so many things that go into that mix beyond what the outcome is. You know. So what do they have in a society where politically there's no real effort to change their community? Politically, there's no real effort to put things in place to overturn the dynamics that becomes the obstacle from that young man being able to get a job that pays him a living wage. You know how many young men in that very situation I've encountered that wants to go to work, that don't want to be out there ducking and dodging the police. They don't want to be the next victim of a homicide. It's so many of them, but literally what can happen on the other side is politicians. We had our mayor doing her, and this isn't a bashing session, I'm just stating what is a reality that everybody knows. She was pro $15 an hour minimum wage. You know, that was going, she ran on that. And when the time came, she vetoed it. You know, $15 an hour, when studies have shown to live a comfortable living wage for the city of Baltimore is $18 an hour. So even if we had got the $15 an hour minimum wage, we still $3 an hour below what studies have shown would be a comfortable or living wage, right? And our actual minimum wage is $10.10 an hour. So, I mean, there's so many obstacles that so many social dynamics, so many social and economic dynamics that need to be bridged just for that next generation, that kid behind, to be able to have a chance when they have that person as a father, that person as a mother. I was a second generation drug dealer. My father was in the streets most of his life. My father was a heroin addict. When he took his fall, he fell hard. I'm talking fell hard, found out that he was he had the HIV virus and all that other kind of stuff going on. You know, when I started going to jail at 14, 15 years old, I knew my father had been to jail. That's who my father was to me at that time. You know what I'm saying? So again, the generational aspect of it. We who pass judgment and formulate these responses to people in these varying situations really have no clue, because maybe we dotted our I's and crossed our T's. We never encountered some of the things that literally were beyond their control. You know, when the drug thing is prevalent in your house at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, what else you know? But if that wasn't your household, well, I grew up in the same neighborhood. But your parents were trying to work. They were trying to get out. Your parents wasn't smoking crack. Their parents was. You know, it's so much more to it. And I believe that I've been blessed to be able to empathize with a lot of it because of the real dynamics of my own life. And we need people to be able to get from the space where we saying what's wrong with you, and we looking at it from the perspective of what happened to you. When we begin to unpack that trauma and unpack the varying dynamics that lead to a couple such as the one you described, when they're trying to do what everybody else is trying to do, the American dream, quote unquote, the family dynamic, trying to build, they're trying to do that, but they're trying to do it with what's been left to them. In some communities, what's left to you is good paying jobs, college degrees, you know, the emphasis on the importance of education to lead to a good life. And some of the communities where I serve right now, that's not what's on the table. But you still got to try to build the same American dream with what's been left to you.
I got it.
What's been left to you is the bricks of Gilmore Homes.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Whoa.
The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the club that gives you stuff.
Hey, thanks!
Radio Loyalty.
Here's how it works.
Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then, you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right?
Radio Loyalty.
Click that banner to join now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Dysfunctions in their lives.
Welcome back, good people. We were still having conversation. We're gonna pick up where we left off. And Brother Marvin, I asked you before, as we went out of the break, to put yourself in this scenario. So speak to me as the father who is a young adult involved in gangs, selling drugs to support your family. The female's attracted to the lifestyle of the young lady that you're with, and you just been told you're having a boy. So what do you do as the man in that family dynamic to make sure that your son doesn't follow a path that's going to lead to some type of black on black homicide?
In all honesty, I don't know that I do anything different.
Okay.
Because in that space and time, my mind is completely wrapped around the idea that what I'm doing is what I can do and what I will do. Maybe I try to do what I'm doing better so that I don't die and I don't go to prison. But my mind, my personal mind at the time that I was out there, and some of the young people who I've encountered, the sense of hopelessness is that there is nothing else. This is it. This is what's been left to us. For me personally, it took for me to go to prison. When I went to prison, I came home, I had a daughter, and I was like, look, I ain't trying to do that no more.
Okay.
So I literally went to work in a place making $5.50 an hour because that was the minimum wage. After I would buy some of the things that my daughter would need, because I was working for some Indian people who wasn't really giving me full-time hours. I literally had nothing, and I had to fight through willpower to try to overcome that. And I wound up just having some friends. I got some new friends that weren't a part of that world, and you know, some of my friends who were a part of that world respected my decision to change. But it was a complete uphill battle. I mean, to the degree to where I'm sitting there, you thinking in one breath, I got $10 in my pocket, which is literally the profit after I take care of my responsibilities for a week's labor, when I was getting $10,000 a week. That's a proposition to continually juggle over and over and over again in your head and hope to have the willpower. And again, we talking 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Where out was a way more simpler proposition than it is now.
Yeah.
We didn't have gangs back when I was in the street.
Yeah.
You know, that affiliation For some, it's till death do you part. We ain't trying to let you out.
Yeah.
You know, one of my sons who lives with me is one of my godson, community sons, but he's been with me for 2 years now. When he decided he wanted to do something different, a couple years ago, he got stabbed in his neck. Spent 2 weeks in shock trauma and 2 weeks in a nursing home.
And this is for saying that he wanted out of the game.
I want out. I don't want to do that no more. So after the nursing home, he wound up coming to live with me. Like, it's some dynamics to this game that people don't know, but I look at it like, what if I didn't have a means? I've had at least 5 young men from that I've met in the community and through my job live under my roof.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is people. There's many people that don't know he's not my son. He's been with me that long.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that out of any regret or anything, but you know, what happens when you don't have that means to be able to provide those solutions and those answers, but yet we have so much judgment. And again, I'm not making excuses. You know, in my book, the reality of dying should be enough.
Yeah.
I just had the young man that you and I talked about, that I brought over to meet you and all that sort of thing, to try to get into the program after 3 years of incarceration. He locked up again. Haven't been home a month yet.
Wow.
He locked up again. No bail.
Wow.
We look at that and say, well, he should have learned this lesson. What lesson was being taught? You took him out of the community when he was 16 years old. Not making excuses for him. I just need people to really understand and look at what's at play in these situations and scenarios. He's taken out of the community at 16 years old based on some allegations or something he was alleged of doing, guilty or innocent. He was taken out of the community at 16 years old. He was put into a prison, a space where, as a juvenile, they had some offerings of education and things of that nature, but the dominating part of the culture is still people of like minds. So after 3 years, one of two things happens. I've either been in there and I missed home and I missed life so much that I never want to go back to it. Or, boy, that's a badge of honor. That's a rite of passage. What rite of passage do we have in the black community? They got bar mitzvahs in the Jewish community. You know, Africans still have so many of their tribal rituals and things of that nature. What do we have in the black community as a rite of passage except childbirth for our young women? For our young women. You know, conception for our young men. Prison for our young men. Joining the gang and doing whatever they need you to do to initiate robbing somebody or stealing cars. I was stealing cars when I was 13, 14 years old, man. That was a rite of passage. That was my way of feeling big, feeling grown, cussing, smoking cigarettes. When because there's no real rite of passage, there's no real system that we have in place under what we call the African American culture, especially in a city like urban Baltimore, right? But we looking consistently at these young people as perpetrators and not really seeing the victimology. When you have nothing, you get creative with that nothing. Now, with some people, what we call nothing, they call the hard bricks of Gilmore Homes, McCullough Homes, Pennsylvania Avenue, dilapidated homes, blighted communities, right? And politicians in Baltimore have the unmitigated gall to hang their election regalia all over these buildings that they ain't done nothing about the last 4 years that they was in office. You ride across North Avenue, you see people that are incumbent politicians with signs up on the very abandoned buildings that they did nothing to change the last 4 years that they were in office. What am I seeing that everybody else is missing? Right? It's cool to come into this neighborhood to have church. Long as I can lock solid my building, get back out, get in my car, and leave the neighborhood after my 2-hour service or whatever the case may be. And it's not to say that nobody is doing nothing. It's to say the concerted effort isn't great enough. And God knows you take somebody that's trying to do something and give them a little pressure, you just ruined them. Because the goal shifts away from the genuine effort over to my brand.
Yeah.
My notoriety or whatever it is I get out the deal.
Yeah.
The culture.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one to close on, man. We got to do this again.
I'll be here.
And
this time I'll be on time.
That's right. Hope you guys join us. And again, I'm going to make sure that you have the information on the conflict resolution page so that you know what's upcoming. Again, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. This is only the first part of another great dynamic episode. We'll see you next week.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy, busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey, guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew. Wait, Mom, what? Huh?
What? Hold
What'd you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story, adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away
Just a Bit Outside, the sports radio show at BeExposedRadio.com. Come join us every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, or at BeExposedRadio.com.
So we had a lot of things going on.
Mother's Day, Major League Baseball, pink bats, pink outfits.
Yeah. They certainly did the mothers good. They don't show them justice. Like Jimmy said, the pink bats, cleats, all types of pink highlights in the major leagues. The Orioles were swept by the Kansas City Royals.
Wah, wah.
The Kansas City Royals. Thank you, Eric. Kansas City Royals is they're like one of the worst teams in the Major League Baseball right now. Yeah, so that was a little tough.
Yeah, so the Orioles no longer have the top record. It belongs to the Washington Nationals now.
Yeah, so that was tough. So hopefully they'll get back on track with the next series. Maryland, we got some local sports, collegiate to report. The Maryland lacrosse. Let's shout out the Maryland lacrosse team. They are in the NCAA tournament, and they...
Hey, this is Mark, just a bit outside on BeExposedRadio.com. Listen to us every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on Facebook and on YouTube.